Hey friends, Ghostwood here. It's patch notes time again, so I wanted to just go ahead and do my patch notes video that I plan on doing every time that Riot releases patch notes. I do apologize. This one is like a day to 2 days late because usually I want to do it the day that the patch notes gets released or the day that the patch comes out. This one is like at 8 a.m. on the second day of the patch, so it is just a little bit late, and I do apologize for that. I had a break, but this is a small patch, so shouldn't be too big of a deal, and I'll be back on schedule for the next one. So. Anyways, like I said, this is supposed to be like a little bit of a small patch. They even says the small patch to 8.4 is big patch. So like, if you watch my 8.4 video, like there was a lot of notes in 8.4, and I think this one is just kind of balancing out some of the things that they started to achieve in 8.4. So with that said, let's get into it. Doo-doo-doo. Okay, first things first, Kaiza was released. If you haven't seen my Kaiza video yet, you can click on the screen right now. Um, I really like Kaisa. I'm excited for her to be a part of the game. I don't want to talk too much about her as part of the patch notes because it's like hard to say anything that I haven't said before. But if you want to hear my thoughts and opinions on Kaisa, feel free to watch my Kaisa thoughts video. Azir, Q damage decreased. Azir has a strong landing phase and a strong late game, lowering the base damage of Conquering Sands, gives enemies more time to deal with the Emperor before his late game AP scaling kicks in. Okay, um, I appreciate the idea of a nerf to Azir, especially one that starts at around 10 damage and scales up to around 30 damage. So that was a good call because like they said, like AP scaling should be what's important on Azir, especially after like all of the item changes are what made him like even stronger than he already was. Um, that said, to me, the issue with Azir in lane is like the constant poke from his W. So I kind of wish they had lowered the auto attacks on his W by like 5 apiece up to like 15 apiece. So that way, like it would match at like 30, maybe even a little bit less because I don't know what the AP ratio is on W. But like in my opinion, like that's a more sustained amount of damage. But they probably just thought that that would be way too much of a nerf, which I understand if that's what their decision was. So um, Conquering Sands definitely hurts. Don't get me wrong. So I think there's a nice change. However, I don't. I think Azir is going to stay as strong as he is right now. Galio. Galio's ability to roam with heroes' entrance is tied to how efficiently he can clear waves with Winds of War. A higher mana cost ties that wave clear, and the ensuing roams more tightly to a blue buff. Yeah, so they have upped the cooldown, starting right here up to here by like half a second up to 2 seconds, and the mana cost skyrockets. Wow! By level 5, it's a 100 mana damage, a 100 mana ability. Man, okay. So, Galio has a lot of mana, like, in his build, so, like, this isn't a huge deal, but like they said, they are trying to achieve, like, blue buff, um, like, being important for him to do his, like, hero's entrance, like, wave clear roam. Um, I don't know how much this is going to help or hurt him as a champion. I will say, like, I think that Q is like too much of a little is a little bit too much of a consistent damage option for a tank, especially if you do like I know there's a build right now for him that's like 2 AP items. So like nerfing this will make it so like he's doing a little bit less damage. Um, and this is definitely going to make his wave clear a little bit harder, but like waves still only come like every now and then. So if he has a blue buff, like they said, that won't affect it at all. But I do like this change because like Galio's name of the game right now is like even laning, like nobody dies, and then I'm just gonna push it in roam. So I appreciate that because I don't think his roaming should be as easy as it is right now. So I don't know if this will hurt him at all, but that was a step in the right direction for Galio. I definitely don't think he'll be as like ridiculously powerful as he's been recently, but this will definitely. I don't think this will like kick him out of the game. There's actually a lot of changes for Jin. Passive bonus attack damage increase, Q damage ratio increase, W can now root off of all of Jin's damage. So I'm actually going to start at the bottom here because I think this is the most important part of this buff and it matters for the rest of the buffs. Roots the first champion hit if they were recently hit by any damage from Jin or his allies or standing in a Lotus trap. So that's important because he can now do like the Q into a W. I don't know how frequently he'll do ult into a W, which is the only other thing that he got. I mean, Like a lot of people will do like 4 shots of their ult and then finish with a W, but like I don't know how much the root is going to help at that point, except for maybe like a comment. But I don't think he's going to be running comment, so I don't think this will have any interaction with his ult. But like QW, I think is going to be really powerful because his Q definitely gives him longer range than his auto attacks do, and it's kind of hard to root off of Lotus traps. So this is a really good change. If you look at his passive, if you don't know this, Jin doesn't only get AD from like crit chance and attack speed, but he also gets AD from AD. Like he has like a bonus AD ratio, and he gets like percent total attack damage as like a bonus attack damage from his passive. So like whenever it used to be like 2%, it's like if you bought something that would give you 100 AD, you actually would get 102. So that's how it works. This buff is a 2% bonus up until level 9 right here. And then at level 10, it goes from 11 to 14. So for one level, actually, yeah. So for one level, it's a 3% buff. And then from level 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, for the last 11 to 18, so the last two ranks of your ultimate, you get a 4% buff. So this is like a really good change for Jin because like the 2% will help him in lane because he's a little feast or famine. It's not like Draven levels of AD carry feast or famine, but like he definitely like requires a not bad laning phase in order to stay relevant. So the 2% will help up until like level 9, and then like the 10%. I mean, the 3% is weird at level 10. That's whatever. I mean, it's essentially the same thing. But then like giving him 4% extra from 11 on is really going to help him like have the late game damage output that other champions offer right now, even if he has a bad laning phase. So this is a good change for Jin. Most importantly, I think it's important to do Q Dancing Grenade last out of these three because the total AD ratio on this has gone up so that it's 5% extra when you're at level 5 and 10% extra when you're at level 9. This is important because this means this deals more damage, and then you can root off of it. If you time correctly, you can like bounce, 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 and you know it's gonna land on the champion. Buffer the W, and right as it hits, they'll get stunned, and then you can root it. Sorry, and then you can deal more damage with your auto attacks, and this will deal extra damage, and like you have a higher ratio off of more AD. So like he's going to deal a lot more damage this patch, so this is really nice. And this is a really like smooth change for him. I think Jin players have wanted to root off of Dancing Grenade for a long time, so I like this change a lot for Jin. I think he'll probably be relevant this patch. I'm afraid it's going to go back to like Jin as a must play, but he'll definitely be relevant at the very least. My question now is what Keystone Jin is going to run, because I know briefly at the beginning of like the preseason he went Comet and Airy just because like those two with lethality were really strong in like a poke meta. That fell apart. Some Jin players I know have been advocating for lethal tempo. I personally would like to see. I mean, I'm sorry, fleet footwork, but I personally would like to see him take lethal tempo because he'll just get like way more AD. Just by having this buff plus like the attack speed he'd get from lethal tempo, so that like Jin has a good like late game option of I'm gonna hit an auto attack and then I know in 6 seconds I can like put out a lot of damage. So yeah, all in all, I really like this change for Jin. I would expect Jin to be like A tier plus this patch. Nocturne. Okay, so Nocturne's passive healing has been increased. His passive cooldown refresh on champion hit increased, and his Q missile speed increased. So currently Nocturne every I don't here. Let me check the numbers on this. It's 10 seconds. So every 10 seconds he can do this like Tiamat AOE auto attack, and it heals based on each unit that he hits. They have made it so if you hit a champion, it's lowered by 2 seconds per auto attack, and I think right now it's like yeah, it's one, but it's doubled against champions. So, every time he auto attacks, the cooldown on this goes down by 1 second, and against champions, that'll go down by 2 now. So this is an important change because Nocturne's ability to team fight is essentially none. Like Nocturne doesn't really do anything in team fights. Um, I personally would like to see Nocturne become a Master Yi-esque backline diver in team fights. I think that that's like a good place for Nocturne. That would bring him back into the meta. And like a few of the changes they gave him here, like are definitely moving towards that. So this means he'll be able to do his like AoE auto more during team fights, which I think is an important change. But what I think is even more important, in my opinion, is like even though it's very small, this 5 health buff at level 1, like this here is good. Sorry, I saw level 11. I got confused. The 5 health buff at level 1 is good enough that he's gonna heal for an extra 30 if he can auto attack raptors with this in his first clear. And like first clear is super important right now, and healing for 30 is gonna be huge. Now that's obviously the only camp that he can heal for 30 against, but at the right time in Krugs he could heal for like up to 25. At the Wolves will give him 15, and he'll get 5 extra from each of the like single target camps. So this is really good because this means he'll be able to survive easier and do his early game play pattern, which combines really well with this 200 missile speed buff on Duskbringer. So he'll be able to like survive faster, gank harder with like the faster missile speed. And then these two changes really help that like backline fantasy, like I talked about. So 2 extra seconds on his ult like recast duration. That means he can look for that better pick. Like he can like turn off the lights during a team fight. Really get use from that mechanic by like blinding everybody in the middle of a team fight and then having 6 seconds to like choose a target. And then also like he can turn on his Shroud of Darkness, his spell shield, and then jump in. So that's like a really big change. It like um it'll stay active until he gets to the target. So now like if he chooses to do something like a backline dive, I know like for a little bit like Nocturne was kind of good when Caitlyn was really good, and he would just dash in and like land on a trap and die. So like that won't happen anymore. He won't dash into like Morgana Qs anymore. So this is a really good change. This is a really good change. So Nocturne's gonna be able to gank better early and also like have some late game team fight ability. So this is really nice. I don't know if this is going to be absolutely what he needs, but Volibear got essentially a set of changes that felt about as nice as these did, and he broke. Now, Nocturne doesn't have like a huge knockup, but I mean, this still addresses like what I think are the two main issues with Nocturne. So I wouldn't be surprised if he accidentally breaks a little bit this patch, but my guess would be like high B to low A tier. Um, Olaf, E cooldown decreased, E total damage attack E total AD ratio increased. R flat bonus attack damage decreased. R bonus attack damage now scales with total AD. So, Olaf falls pretty flat as matches drag on. That's for sure. We're upping his scaling to help aggro Olaf players keep their blood pumping in later stages of the game. Sounds good. So, this is down by 1 second, and this is up by 0.1 AD. Buffing both of these means that it's more damage more often, and this is a true damage ability. So this will definitely help him like put out consistent damage during team fights. I also think this helps his like top lane trade pattern. So I wouldn't be surprised if like top lane Olaf sees a resurgence a little bit more than jungle, but like this will help with jungle clearing also. So I think he'll be good in both. Ragnarok went down by by like 25 up to 35. Actually, I'm sorry, 25 up to 55 AD, but he gains 30% of his total AD. So I crunched the numbers yesterday. This essentially means like this 25, in order to get that 25 back, he'd have to have somewhere around like 90, which is easy. In order to get this 40 back, he'd have to have somewhere around like 140-ish, like a little less than that, which again is easy. And to get this 55 back, he'd have to have about like 175, which is also pretty easy. So like with 1 or 2 AD items, he'll get those. Now it's worth noting, we'll get to it later, but Cinder Hulk does get nerfed this patch. Plus they buffed his AD ratio on a true damage ability that he can use more often, and it's 30% of his total AD. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw like damage Olaf make a resurgence this patch, which is why I kind of think like top lane is favored just a little bit because it's easier for him to like survive as a damage champion in top lane. But he has a really good game. So if jungle Olaf like keeps working, like I think AD I think AD Olaf like is gonna be pretty strong this match. So I'm gonna go ahead and say like my response to this is I think Tank Olaf will be about where it is right now, but I would expect Damage Olaf to be really strong. Hopefully with I will say I think Riot probably thought they were going to keep him as a tank, but like one time we buffed Galio's AP ratio, so his one or two AP items felt better, and he started building 4 or 5 AP items and broke. So I'm curious if like 4 or 5 AD item Olaf like will be worth anything. Maybe even like 3 and then a couple tank items, like kind of like a Shyvana build. I think that'd be pretty good. Rengar, sorry. Ferocity falls off more slowly. Q base damage increased. Q damage ratio decreased at early ranks. Increased at early ranks. So his Ferocity has 8 seconds now. This is really nice because he can get in between camps better. I don't really understand this lockout thing, but I don't think it's important because it's for zero point 0.1 seconds. That's just how long he has to recast, so he can't double Q, which is nice. But 2.5 seconds is good because like that'll make him feel less clunky. But yeah, 8 seconds. He can get in between camps better, and it gives him more of a play window to like get into a lane and use his Ferocity. So this is a definitely a nice change. His Q base damage went up by 10, and the ratio is nerfed until he's level 5 and then buffed for the rest of the game, starting at level 7. And it fixed a bug where empowered savagery's basic attack was slightly faster than regular savagery. Okay. Bullet Strike. If Rengar presses Q or W during Bullet Strike's cast time, he'll buffer those spells, which is really nice. And True Vision now lingers on the target until the leap completes. And then there's one bug that's important. If Rengar was basic attacking a target before casting a spell, he'll now continue stabbing them when the spell completes rather than forgetting what he was doing. So when they reverted Rengar, the idea was to make him not as clunky as he was with his like dash Q. These all work against clunkiness. Like the whole thing about Rengar is like a good player can just like seamlessly do stuff on him. This along with like a little bit more damage on this, plus like this buffer, plus keeping his true vision, plus this bug being taken out. I don't know if this damage is enough for like new players to like come to Rengar and start winning, but like I think Rengar players are going to start like picking up W's more often. So I would expect Rengar to not be like at the abysmally low win rate that he had this patch, just because Rengar players will win on him. I think other players like can find their way back to him, and I think eventually he'll like power creep back in. This is just a nice like feel good change, but like in my opinion, all these other like anti clunky changes are gonna get him wins. I think just because Rengar players will feel seamless on him again. Um, Rise is getting nerfed because when you buff all of a champion's core items, for some reason they become stronger. Who would have thought? Giving 20% CDR in his core build. Who would have thought that that would make him powerful? His E is like getting buffed a little bit, so he has like a better all in lane. Which is nice because of like the amount of damage he was doing. But they cut the spread in half so that way he doesn't have his super dominating like wave clear and roam thing that they kind of talked about with Galio also, and then 60 seconds upped on his ulti. So I like this a lot because Ryze started dealing a lot of damage after the AP item changes. So this really does call into question like why are you picking Ryze? Like is it for this like strong like laney phase all in that they're trying to move him towards, and then really really good late game damage, or are you picking it for like this playmaking? Because this playmaking is still going to be there, but like I don't know. For the longest time, it was like Realm Warp was enough to pick Ryze when he was abysmally bad. So now they're trying to move him to like, okay, he's actually like a damage mage, and he has this nice play that he can make every 3 minutes. So that's pretty nice. And this isn't even going to actually be 3 minutes because, like I said, Seraph's Embrace has 20% CDR on it now. So like, this is really going to be closer to what's minus 36. So this will be like 144, and then if you can get another like 20% CDR, like it's gonna be yeah 130, so 72. Yeah, so you're looking at 108 seconds with 40% CDR. So that's fine. Shyvana, they over nerfed her last patch, which I said they would. The twin bite nerf was fine. I'm glad they're giving her this back. I think she'll still not be very good because I don't think she was busted when they nerfed twin bite, but I'm glad they're giving one of these things back because it was weird that they did that. Skarner, E stun duration decreased. This is like half of the buff that they gave him that brought him back in, so now it's like 1.25 seconds. That's nice because Skarner just puts out way too much CC right now. I want to see him stick around, and I think he will because like people realize like, oh, his flash ulti is really good. Doesn't even really matter about the stun on his E. So it's nice that it's still a little bit longer. It still gives you a little bit more time to do stuff, but like it's not going to be constant CC like he does right now. Swain. If you remember, I advocated for Swain to get a damage buff on his W and a cooldown buff on his Q, and for his ult to lose his health. I mean, to get a lowered health cap. Last patch, they succeeded in giving it a lowered health cap. This patch, they succeeded in lowering the cooldown on his Q. They buffed the radius of his W, which means it's a little bit easier to hit, which works for me. I still would like this to deal more damage because this ability is like really cool, and it's kind of lame when it's like, oh no, I got hit by it. It took 3 damage. So, um, this will just help his awful laning phase. Because it's only a buff at early game. So yeah, right. By level 9, they can evens out. Um, yeah, like I said, this is a little bit easier to hit, which is good. Um, they increased the radius on this so it hits more and fix some bugs about it not hitting correctly, which is nice. I'm glad they didn't buff like the amount of time his root is for because that was a change I heavily advocated against. And Demon Flare now passes through champions so it hits everybody. This is actually a really nice change. I think Swain is going to be. They said it's not that far off from being balanced. I think that this will probably bring him to like 49 to 51, like solid win rate, and then I think people will probably learn how to play him and he'll potentially get really strong. But these are good changes. I think this makes Swain not useless anymore, so that's good. Tristana, they have lowered her attack damage. I'm sorry, her attack range by 25 at level 1, scaling up to just an 8 nerf at level 18. This is really good because right now Tristana is able to just put out so much like free damage like while you're outside of her. So that's really good because Tristana was always supposed to have a little bit of a risk reward to her of like bouncing around chaining kills. Like I'm just gonna jump in and kill them. So by buffing the damage on her W, like you will not feel this nerf. In fact, it'll feel like a buff if you play Tristana correctly, which is like taking risks. So I really like this because, yeah, they're just giving her an opportunity to take more risks and get like rewarded for it more, and just not get as many rewards just for like standing there, attack moving. So really good change for Tristana. Okay, Twitch, E-base damage increase. They're having the nerf they gave him last patch. I wish they just reverted it. I don't understand why they nerfed Twitch. He was, I don't think he was that strong, honestly. It's still so weird to me. I still think he's gonna be bad because it was just dumb that they nerfed him. Um, they slightly increase the speed but decrease the duration of the knockback. This is good. Volibear won't feel as like busted, but like all of the nice changes they gave him will still be there. So I think he'll like keep a good win rate, but I don't think he'll be like played on stage good anymore, which is fine because Volibear doesn't really need to be played on stage. Um, okay, so Zoe's Q up until now has dealt her passive damage on top of like to the person that it hit. They have removed that. However, they have buffed her attack range by 25 and they've buffed her like lock on range for her spell thieves like bubbles by 25. So if you play like close range Zoe, like you'll still be able to deal this damage. They have buffed the ratio on her Q by zero point 0.4, and they have increased the damage on it by 5, scaling up to 45, and then given it an extra 7, scaling up to 50 damage. So she's going to deal a lot of damage with her Q, like a lot of damage, but it's not going to have this passive damage on top of it anymore. And you can still put a passive down, but you have more range to do that. And it has less wave clear. So they're really focusing on late game. Zoe hurts a lot. She has 4 to 5 AP items, dealing zero point 0.6 AP ratio with a 200 base damage ability. Zoe will hurt. Level 18, she will hurt, and scaling up to that, she will hurt. But like in lane, it's just not going to be as much of a like blow up your health bar as it is right now. So I think people are still gonna hate Zoe because this is gonna keep one shotting people, but she will not one shot up until like level like 10, 11, 2 items, in my opinion. Well, not even that. She'll do a lot of damage around then. I think like 3 to 4 items at like level like 14, 15. That's when she'll probably like be dealing a lot of damage. But at that point, like, they've given enough nerfs to her sleepy bubble that like she has to set up the play to make that happen. And if she's not doing anything up until then, I'm all for that. And they've buffed the damage on her W a little bit and buffed the range up to her auto attack range. So in lane, if you're willing to take risks, you can still deal damage. So it's a good change to Zoe. I think she's still going to be relevant. I'm glad that they nerfed her wave clear. And Scion got two nerfs to like how his E is hurting people, which I guess was, or bugs, whatever. So yeah, okay, okay. Banner of Command. Who would have thought that what they did with Baron wasn't going to affect Banner of Command? How weird. Siege minion bonus damage to turret effects from Banner of Command and Hand of Baron no longer stack. We knew going into last patch that we need to watch our changes to Hand of Baron closely, particularly when combined with Banner of Command on Siege minions. Banner plus Baron siege minions still deal more damage to turrets than they did in 8.3, but to a lesser extent than they did in 8.4. Banner Command's damage multiplier against turrets no longer stacks with the identical multiplier Hand of Baron. So I guess they want people, if you want to take Banner of Command and like put it on somebody else, and then that way you have two minions like dealing half instead of one dealing a lot. I think that's what they were going for. I would kind of wish they'd done additive, but whatever. This is a nice change because we won't get that ridiculous cannon damage that we had last patch, which was insane. So good fix here. 5% down. Like they said, like Jax is taking this, so this is definitely going to make it so tank junglers aren't as absolutely powerful as they are right now. We can see more AD playmakers like Olaf. Hopefully, if he actually switches to Warrior, Vi, that sort of thing. So this is a good nerf. Um, in my last video, I said that I thought Hextech GLP was going to be like a preferred item for a lot of champions. It turns out there was a damage nerf that they didn't mention. 25 up to 50. So this will deal a little bit more damage now, and it has like only a point 0.2 AP nerf, but they've buffed. I mean AP ratio, but they've buffed the slow by 25%. So I think this will bring it to what I said, which was I think a lot of people will like this item. It's just these undocumented changes like hurt that. Warmog's armor. You have to have 3,000 health for Warmog's heart to tick. This is great, especially combined with the Cinderhulk nerf, because like this 2750, like that wasn't even an issue. Like you could build Warmog second on a lot of tanks and get it. So this is really nice because you won't have tanks like recalling just by standing in a brush for 2 seconds anymore. So it was a really really good change. Honestly, I think that it should go up to 3250, but 3000 is good for now. Turrets damage to melee minions increased. The removal of bonus damage to minions has left some champions struggling the last hit under tower, 45%. So it's only up by 2. The turret's items tooltip for damage delta minions correctly listed at 45. This number is now correct. So it's still going to be 2 and then an auto attack for melees, but it'll be really hard to like not kill them with that auto attack. So there's a really fluid change. When I saw turrets in the patch notes, I was hoping they were going to make them hurt more, but whatever. Cloud Drake buff. Cloud Drake has always been good for pick-based compositions who want to catch opponents out of position, but not as appealing for other comps for shifting the movement speed to have both in and out combat applications, so more teams find it rewarding to take. Now gains 2% bonus movement speed per tick, tripled while out of combat. No longer gives 25 out of combat movement speed. So, okay, this is actually a really good change. Like, having this in team fights is huge. So, Cloud Drake, I don't think will be as useless as it's been recently. I don't know if it's going to become, oh, that's the new Infernal, but this definitely, like, seems on par with, like, I'd say Ocean is probably the worst now. This seems about on par with Mountain, so. Precision Domination stat bonus. The amount of ADAP you get for taking Domination behind Precision has been increased. This is really good because when they did that change to Precision, pretty much every AD was just like, okay, cool, so I'll take Celerity Gathering Storm as my secondary. This will allow a couple of them to get like a nice change for like risking it and going like sudden impact with like Ravenous Hunter or something like that. So this is a good change. Like it's important that runes have variety, so I'm glad that they're doing that. Damage amplification up by 4% at level 1, up to 12%. So good. Okay. So yeah, it's weird that they nerfed like press the attack. I mean, if the base damage is down, like this will still allow like some lanes, like the double lanes, to like take advantage of this. So we might actually see ADs take press the attack finally, which is good. Fleet footwork. Range penalty on minion heal increased. Range champions healing off minions 30%. So yeah, this is really nice because now people have to use it. Yeah, it's a health battery. So now people will actually have to like look for hitting a champion with their fleet footwork to get like enough healing. So that's really nice. Aftershock's cooldown is increased. That's good because they're trying to get rid of these like CC tanks like running everything. Mana flow band now has a cooldown indicator. That does not matter to the balance of the game, but thank you, Riot. Open parties. Does this have anything to do with the balance of the game? I'm living at the same just cast it. Okay. And they're gonna put out this bad Alawi skin. Okay. So thoughts. This patch, like I said, was pretty small. They did hit a couple of important things. I think that like these were good changes. I kind of wish it had come with a slight lethal tempo buff so that 80s would actually have like three choices. But like it looks like they have two, and a couple people can use lethal tempo. Like I know, like I said, hopefully Jin. I know Callista's taking it. Maybe like Kog'Maw will fall onto it. But this is good in combination with that nerf to the 15%. So 20 down to 15 plus Warmog. So tanks like it will still be relevant, but they won't run the game that the way that they have recently. And I'm looking forward to seeing some AD like playmaking junglers appear, or a couple of those new AP ones that they're trying to make. Tristana's not going to fall off, but this is a nice change. Yeah, overall like nothing major here. The only thing I'd say is like watch out for Ringard to start winning again. Watch out for like AD Olaf to find a place. Watch out for Nocturne until you find somewhere. I think Jin is going to be a top tier. Yeah, and Azir isn't going to hurt. So if you go into lane against Azir, like, oh, don't worry, he got nerfed, you're still going to die. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. If you have any thoughts about something that I didn't talk about, or if you disagree with something I said, please comment. I love to hear what you guys have to say. And it makes me a better analyst and coach, like when I hear what other people have to say. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time.